Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Functional Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. I'm your host, Chris Porter, best-selling author and owner of Y.E.S Fitness. Excuse me. Let me first thank you for taking time from your busy day to listen to what I have to say. I don't take that lightly. Everyone's busy. So hopefully today's broadcast will help inspire you to get fit if you're not already getting fit. Before we get started, let me thank our sponsor, Y.E.S Fitness. Most people lose the ability to enjoy life as they age. At Y.E.S Fitness, we help people age 40 plus get fit so they can live longer and enjoy those extra years doing the things they love to do. So some quick housekeeping here. If you want to get a timestamp or a transcript of today's broadcast, head on over to yesfitnessct.com. Across the top, you see a button for podcasts, and that will give you access to any one of our now 309 episodes. Been doing this a long time now. You can also get this broadcast wherever podcasts can be found. See how I overcome a major life challenge. Today's broadcast is dedicated to everyone who is trying to recover from surgery, especially one of my close friends who is recovering from the first of 2 hip replacements. I hope it inspires them to overcome their challenges so they can enjoy life and do the things they want to do. Hip surgery, although I haven't gone through it, is not the worst of the surgeries to have replaced, but any surgery is not good and it's not fun. I'm glad to report that he is out of pain in his one hip now. He's doing well, and he's not looking forward to doing the second hip, although he knows it needs to be done. So I want these people who are overcoming challenges, overcoming surgeries, to know that even coaches like myself have struggles in life. Life presents challenges to everyone, and like everyone else, sometimes we conquer them and sometimes we continue to struggle. So today I'm going to tell my story of my most recent challenges with weight and getting back into shape. So I'm a private person, so many people may not know that back in May of 2021, I decided I would participate in the Masters Games. Sometimes those games are referred to as the Senior Olympics. Now, I had never raced before in my life. Well, I shouldn't say that. Back in middle school, I don't think it was really official. I can't really remember, but 4 of us, myself, Walter Shack, Keith Pulver, and Paul Moncuse, ran the 4x100 to see if we could break the school record, which we did do. But that is the only time that I have ever raced. I always played team sports. I played lacrosse and football. So I never raced before, but I was fit, and it gave me a reason to train. So I thought I would run in those senior games, or those Masters games. So I trained the beginning of that year, 2021, and I ran the 50 and 100 meter dash, just 50 and 100 meters, short, quick sprints. I was always fast, not the fastest, but I was always fast. But I felt like now that I've stayed in shape all these years, in my early 60s, I take a shot. I would be racing against people from 60 to 64 years old. And I came in, I want to say 7th or 8th in these races. So not bad, the middle of the pack. In the 100 meters, I was a full second behind. In the 100 meters, I was a full 2 seconds behind the winner. And in the 50 meters, I was 1 second behind the winner. And so not a bad performance the first time ever. Coming out of the blocks and things like that are very different than how I ever started before. So although I wasn't happy because I like to win, my performance really wasn't that bad. So I decided, hey, let's train for a full year and see how I do. So I got back at it. And back in 2022, I raced again, and I did improve. My standings improved, my times improved. Now, keep in mind that this is for like the whole Northeast. So it was kind of encouraging that I was able to improve my times. So I said, hey, let's keep going. It gives me a reason to train. I think when people have a reason to train, it's a little easier to stay um, consistent. So let's keep going. So I would tweak my training a little bit to see if I could improve. During the summer of 2022, I started to have some lower abdominal discomfort, and um, being a little stubborn, I just kind of ignored it, worked through it, and it got to the point that on Thanksgiving of 2022, I shut it all down. I stopped exercising completely. I didn't even walk. It bothered me that much. Made an appointment, went to the doctor, and found out that I had a reoccurrence of my double hernia. I had a double hernia back when I was 6 or 7 years old. And I popped the stitches. So on January 31st, 2023, I had surgery. But during that time frame, from Thanksgiving to this surgery, and then a little bit after that, I had gained 20 pounds. Now, no one ever said to me, "Hey, you look heavy, you look fat, you look like you put on some weight." But I knew that I put on some weight. My clothes didn't fit well, and I just didn't feel well. I didn't feel well because of the weight gain, and I didn't feel well because of not exercising. So I was given the green light to start exercising. I forget how long it was. It might have been 2 months, 3 months, whatever it was. I started working out again, and I started slowly, not being stubborn about it. I started slowly, but I noticed that I still had some discomfort on my right side, and I'm thinking, did it not get fixed correctly? Could I have hurt it again? But I was super careful while I was working out, and went back to the doctor, checked me out. She said, "You know what? Your surgery is fine. You have no problems with your hernia." And did some X-rays. Really couldn't figure out what the problem was, so she sent me off to physical therapy. I headed on over to advanced physical therapy, and my friends over there, who are wonderful, wonderful, Roxanne and Mindy, figured out that through all this, I compensated so much that I kind of got my right hip flexor, one of my deep right hip flexors in the front of the hip, lower abdominal region, got it really aggravated. And through some very um, physical therapy that was not comfortable, we're able to get it back on track. So in the spring of 2023, I started feeling better, about 95% free, pain free. I still had to keep my eye on it. I still had to do my physical therapy exercises, and I still do them to this day. I could still feel that discomfort at times, um, but pretty much I was about 95% free. So it was off to the races. I hadn't lost any weight at this time. I know that eating is the key, not exercise is the key to some weight loss. Although exercise is super important to make sure I don't lose my muscle mass. During this time frame, I got on our in-body scan, and I was able to maintain my muscle mass. So I hadn't lost muscle mass. I had really just gained fat. So that was encouraging right there. But when I'm not exercising, and you're kind of dying, you're doing a lot of energy because you're not exercising, you're not feeling great. I didn't eat as well as I normally eat. I did not eat as well as I normally do when I'm exercising. And certainly the Thanksgiving of 2022, going into the holiday season, just shutting everything down, no activity at all, no movement, and not really changing the way I eat, you can see why I gained some weight. But at this point in time, I was feeling better, and I said, you know what, it's time to get after this a little bit. So here we are, January 2024, feeling better, saying, let's go, let's get after this. Because it took literally most of 2023 for physical therapy to take care of my hip to the point where I really could exercise again. I was doing some light exercise, I was doing some walking, but no sprinting, no really lifting to some fatigue or anything like that. But now in 2024, I've been able to get after it again. So let's just first talk about my training. So I was excited to get started again. Started slowly, light intensity, working my way up, continue to do my physical therapy exercises. Um, Made sure that I get 10,000 steps in a day. That's make sure I get my NEAT in. If you don't know what NEAT is exercise, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's about 15% of your metabolism. It's extremely important to have that if you're trying to lose some weight. So I make sure that I get my steps in every single day. I started lifting twice a week, just 2 times a week. Um, not always hitting fatigue, working my way back up to the point where I could fatigue the muscles again. And then once the weather broke, I started to sprint again. Started to get out sprinting a couple times a week. So I had a little bit of a combined goal here, which made it a little bit interesting on how I was going to address my exercise. One, I knew I had to get my steps in. Two, I knew I had to lift weights, but I couldn't lift weights at the intensity I needed to lift for my sprinting. But I did lift weights more for helping me to lose fat because I needed to lose the fat. I need to get back to where I wanted to be. And then for the sprinting, so I would mix in, and I'm going to go over what I did in a minute. I mixed in some heart rate based conditioning or caloric expenditure type exercise, and I would mix in some sprinting for my sprint training. So we're trying to get a couple different things going here. I'm trying to lose weight, trying to lose some fat, as well as increase my sprinting speed and my explosiveness. So working through that through the spring, and then in the late spring, I got back out on my bike. I really enjoy riding my bike, and I would ride 2 routes. I rode one route, which was very challenging because it rode from Bristol all the way up into Burlington, so it's really uphill. And when I first started that route, I was super exhausted. The hills were crushing me. The first time I ran it, the first time I rode it, I did it in about 58 minutes. So I would, every time I went out, try to improve on that. My goal was to get under 1 hour. That was my first goal. My second goal was for that ride to become a recovery ride. So it wasn't workout. It wasn't exercise anymore. It wasn't like a workout. It was recovery. I could do it. I could come home, feel good. My legs would feel good because there were times when I came home, I could barely walk up the stairs from my basement upstairs, up to my first floor of my house. And then I had a second ride where I would ride from my house all the way out to 72. So 72, again, is up into Burlington, but it's a much more gradual ride. I also started out above 1 hour with that. And my goal, again, was to get under an hour. And actually, the first day I got under an hour. I just kind of went out and rode without the intention of improving. And because I didn't go out real hard in the beginning, I was able to go hard at the end, and I did get it under an hour. So now both rides have become under an hour and the recovery. So when I'm done, I feel good. I'm not tired. My legs aren't tired. I can go on with my day without saying, wow, I really overdid it with my ride. So I had all the pieces together now to really go after it. So this is what my exercise plan looked like. We need to do something every single day. Every single day I need to do something. So for my non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is for fat loss, I make sure I get 10,000 steps in. Whether I'm at the gym or I'm at home, I got to make sure I get those steps in. Is it perfect? It's not perfect every single day. There are days where I don't have it happen, but that is what my goal is. I need to lift for both speed and fat loss. So I need to do some conditioning and fat loss. And I need to do some sprint training. Those were the goals and the activities I needed to accomplish. So this is what it looks like. An example of a week. On a Monday, I make sure I get my walk in, I get my NEAT in, and then I will do some conditioning for fat loss. It's all heart rate based interval training. I like to run 2,400 yard, I like to run 200 yard sprints. So I do 16 200-yard sprints. Sprint, get some recovery. Sprint, get some recovery based on my heart rate. And I also like to do 300-yard shuttles. So that's back and forth 6 times, 25 yards. And then I use my heart rate for recovery, and then go again. My goal is to do 12 of those in 30 minutes. And I presently can do 11 with a little bit of recovery time in 30 minutes. I used to be able to do 12 prior to surgery. I could do 12. So I know it's attainable goal. So also with the 200s, my goal is to be able to do 16 200s in under 30 minutes. I used to be able to do that. I cannot do that at this time, but just some goals. I like to have some goals to work towards. Not every time I go out do I really push. I just came back from vacation, went to run the other day. I did not push to make sure that I could get 11 300-yard sprint, 300-yard shuttles in a half an hour. I just wanted to get back out there because I hadn't really done much in 2 weeks. I'll talk about that in a minute. And I knew that it would be a challenge. So Monday is a walk and some conditioning for fat loss. Tuesday, I use my bike ride as a recovery and to get movement in. And I would do my sprint training, whatever that might be for the day. It might be 500 or 600-yard sprint, 100-yard dashes, or whatever it is for the day. Wednesday, I like to really try to recover a little bit more, so I will only walk and I lift weights. Because I lift, I need a little bit of recovery on Thursday. So Thursday can be a recovery walk, again, a bike ride, depending on how hard I went and what my legs feel like. And then basically Friday, it's rinse and repeat. Always with the mindset that if I miss a day, it's okay. The most important thing is to try to stay consistent, trust the plan to achieve my goal. So if I miss a day, that's all right. Whatever comes up and I can't get it in there, that's okay. Maybe it's pouring rain out. I can't get out on my bike. All I can do is walk on my treadmill, or I'm so busy I can't fit my weightlifting in. That's okay. But my goal is 6 days a week. And if I don't hit that, that's okay. So now the nutrition part of it, because I have the exercise part moving along nicely now, and I've seen progress. I've seen progress, simple progress in the amount of time my bike ride takes now. I see progress in the fact that I can do 11 300-yard shuttles. I see progress that, I can do 16 200-yard dashes, which I could not do before when I started this training at the beginning of summer. It's just about being consistent. I'm not saying you need to go out there and run 300-yard shuttles or ride a bike for an hour or run 16 or run 200-yard sprints. I'm just saying you need to do something and you need to be consistent with it and then continue with that and progressively overload, make it a little bit harder. And as you make it a little bit harder, you will get better. As in the case with my wife. My wife does a real great job over the summer. And then when the winter hits, she kind of falls off the wagon a little bit. Beginning of summer, she started going down to Lake Winfield walking. She walks 3 laps, just a little bit under 2 miles. And now, because of that, she started to jog a little bit. She's jogging a little bit more. Now she's doing some interval training work, going around Lake Winfield here in Terryville. And that's all because she's been consistent. And she's tried to make it just a little bit harder each time. Not like she says I do. Like I work out really hard. I push myself pretty hard. But she tries to push herself a little bit. And she has seen progress. Do you need to go out and walk and then jog? No. But you need to go out and walk and try to get your heart rate up a little bit. You need to do some strength training, something, whatever it is. Do 15 squats up and down out of the chair in your living room or your dining room or your kitchen, and then hold something in your hands to make it a little bit harder. But you need to progressively overload the body. It will get better. So now let's talk about nutrition, because without the nutrition, I'm not going to lose the fat. I got more conscious of my caloric intake. So I'm somewhere around 2,500 calories. I don't count real calories real closely. I just have an idea, ballpark idea of what I'm sitting down and eating when I eat. I made sure that I reduced my portions, especially dinner time. Dinner time portions can get out of control sometimes. So I made sure my portions were in line. And I made sure I increased my protein with some just straight protein shakes to make sure my protein is at least 150 grams per day. I probably have 150, 160 pounds of lean body mass in my body, so I want to try to match that number. And it's starting to all come together. I've dropped 10 pounds. I have 10 pounds to go. Um, I did just go on vacation. I was up in Canada for 5 days. Did not really exercise. We were active, bike riding, canoeing, um, things like that. But I didn't exercise. I was back in town for 2 days. In both days, I exercised. I worked out. But then I headed down to Myrtle Beach on Thursday, and I did get to run. Unfortunately, we didn't realize that we stayed in a facility that didn't have a gym. So that made it challenging to do some kind of resistance training, which is okay to take a week off. It's called a deload. I take a week off from lifting. That's okay. So I got to run on Saturday and Sunday, but Monday, Hurricane Debbie hit, and that kind of shut things down. Even when it wasn't really raining, it was way too windy along the coast to be able to run. So I've really not exercised but 2 times, maybe 4 times in the past 2 weeks. And I went out and ran yesterday. And as I figured, it felt like I had never run before. It was hard. But I know from past times that if I'm consistent and continue to do what I'm supposed to do, I will be okay. And I'll begin to progress along again a bit. I'll start to feel better again. And I'll get in better shape. And I'll continue to lose the weight. And I will hopefully become faster so I can perform better in the Masters games. So I'm not bragging here, and I'm not trying to put anybody down on trying to make anybody feel bad. My point is here that you have to start somewhere. You just have to start doing something. You can't go, oh, surgery. I can't do this. It's so hard. Yeah, it's hard. Like Tom Brady says, we need to do hard things. But once we do these hard things, you will overcome the challenges. And by staying consistent, like I did with my bike ride, man, it was hard. I mean, I'm going up a hill. I got a serpentine back and forth across the road to get up the hill because it's so hard. Now I go straight up the hill. I get out of breath. Absolutely. The hill's so hard. It's not that I can't, it's so much that I can't overcome, but with time, it gets easier and easier and easier. As an example with my wife. So I hope this inspires you to do something. That when you're given the okay after your surgery and you pass maybe your physical therapy, whatever the surgery might be, even if it's heart surgery, even if you've had a heart attack, you put a stent in, you need to get out there and exercise. Even if you've overcome cancer, you need to get out and exercise. I had a double hernia. That's a challenge because it's a lower abdominal. It's right in your abdominal region. To overcome that, it really weakens your core. And I've been able to overcome that with consistency. You can do it. I know you can do it. Get up and start moving. Find a professional in your area. Get a hold of me. I will be more than happy to help you with this because I want you to be able to not just live longer. I want you to be able to live life. I want you to be able to do the things that you can do. So if you have a story, put it in the comments. Let me see. I'd love to hear your success stories. If someone's overcome some type of challenges, and sometimes it's not physical, sometimes it's mental challenges we all need to overcome, that can happen. You can do it. I've seen it. I've lived it. So hopefully this will help inspire you to get moving so you can live life. That's it for today. If you like this, share it. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to it. And you'll hear from me again next week with more information on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better.